Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Wait a second. Lou Diamond? Isn't that the guy on like late night TV that's trying to sell you something?
This Thrive Loud episode is brought to you by Hinge Consulting. Success on Amazon hinges on well-executed strategies. Contact Hinge Consulting to learn about total Amazon channel management and to see if your business has what it takes to grow over 300% over the next 12 months. That's Hinge Consulting at hingeconsulting.co.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you a former NHL and AHL hockey player, where he played with the Colorado Avalanche and the Boston Bruins. He serves as an NCAA college ice hockey and NHLcolor analyst for networks such as CBS, Westwood One, NESN, and ESPN, where he must cross paths with Dave Starman, the poor guy. I really do feel for you. Anyway, he's also the co-founder of Endeavor Athletics, an innovative training apparel for the modern athlete. Thrive Loud listeners, I bring you entrepreneur Colby Cohen. Colby, how are you today?
I'm good. I appreciate you having me on, and I know that you sure have some interesting guests on this show, and I've listened to a handful of the episodes, and it's definitely appreciated on my end that you would want to bring me on here. You know, you have such great guests every week.
Well, I think we're just adding to the lineup here, Colby. You know, we have a lot of great people that come on the program, and they have a great story. And I think what's really cool is, as I just read in the bio, you know, we have a lot of people that are athletes or former athletes, and they transform their careers in different ways. So, Colby, if you could, why don't you share with the Thrive Loud listeners a little bit about your personal journey going from sports into business? And I think it'll be great for them to hear this unique story.
Yeah, well, you know, sports obviously does not last forever for anybody. And, you know, whether you're Wayne Gretzky or you're, you know, Jeremy Roenick, or you're a guy who, you know, kind of struggled to play and stay in the league, the kids' game, it always ends. And, you know, you start to see the writing on the wall, and some guys like to, you know, kind of string it out, and they'll play in Europe for 10 years, and they'll play in the American Hockey League, and they'll make a nice living. And you know, for some guys, that's what they want, and that's all they know. And for me, you know, I felt like I made contributions to the game. I made it to the highest level. I got to be involved in a national championship in college and a Stanley Cup championship at the pro level. And, you know, I started to have some other interests in broadcasting, and you know, I had sort of gotten involved in the beginning levels of Endeavor, which is, you know, a company that I co-founded. And, you know, it sort of was like I was having some injury troubles, and it just seemed like, you know, this is the time. The game of hockey was great to me. I learned so much. I met amazing people. As you mentioned earlier, Dave Starman, who connected us, is somebody I met through playing the game and working in broadcasting like I do now. So, you know, it's been such a great transition, because when I walked out of the game, I was ready to start the next phase of my life. And the next phase of my life was Endeavor Athletic, which is it's a high performance, innovative clothing brand. And we make activewear for people. And there was another phase where I wanted to also be a part of broadcasting, and I had a little bit of experience with broadcasting, because one of the seasons that I was in Boston, I was injured. It was between contract years, so I had a lot of free time. I was doing rehab, working with Mike Boyle in Boston, and I was working for NESN. So, you know, I had other interests, and I felt that it was time to sort of get ahead of myself and start going towards those interests, because, you know, you wait until you're 35, 36, and I assume it's even harder to really start in what I would call the real world. You know, because sports is really just a kid's game, Lou. I mean, you're fortunate that you get paid every 2 weeks when you're a professional, but at the end of the day, you're just a big kid. You're going out there and you're just playing a game.
So talk a little bit about getting in the avenue of doing Endeavor Athletics. Like every great business leader and business that's out there, they always seem to identify there's a certain problem or there's something missing in the market. Talk a little bit about where you saw where there was something missing and what you wanted to get into and how you connected it through this endeavor.
Well, since I was younger, my cousin, Jeremy Bloom, who was a big-time skier and football player, he had a huge endorsement when he was a kid with Under Armour. He was one of the first really big endorsers because he was on an Olympic contract and he was on an NFL contract. And, I remember all the things he would get to do when I was younger. He would get to go and try things, and they would fit things for him, and he would test cleats before they would get released into the NFL. And just the whole thought of really being able to create his own type of clothing was just so fascinating to me when I was, kind of like middle school, early high school years, because, he was drafted by the Eagles, so he was in Philadelphia, so we were very close. And I really got to see how that all worked, and for his skiing as well. So I always had this sort of outside interest in being involved with that. And then, as I started to get up to Boston University and then I got to the pro levels, I sort of was always a little bit disillusioned with how things would fit me. And, I was constantly having to change in between periods. I mean, there's nothing more uncomfortable than having a shirt that gets so wet that in between periods, Lou, you got to change. So, it's almost like I identified these problems when I was younger without ever really realizing that I was identifying it. And then when I sort of got towards the end of playing, I said, this is something that I want to try to do. I need to get some other people on board, and I need to meet some people and sort of surround myself with the right people. And, you made a comment about, all the great business leaders identifying a problem. And I certainly feel like I can take credit for identifying that problem. But what I did first when I stopped playing, Lou, is I went out and identified a team of people, kind of no different than, being on a sports team, and I started bringing in these people around me who really understood the clothing business, the fashion business, and sort of started assembling a team, one player at a time in order to really get this thing off the ground.
So this is an interesting question, Colby. And by the way, it's really cool. I know that the apparel business is a tough business. It's not one of these that, you have certain unique skill sets and it's very customized for the types of materials you need to have for getting it to fit and obviously getting it to also look good. What was that education for you and obviously smart move, bringing this whole team together? What was it like from your seat in trying to see how you can bring products to life?
Well, I mean, it is so amazing at what it takes from a drawing to the shelf of one of my stores. I mean, it is absolutely fascinating. And there's so much work that goes in behind the scenes that, we as the consumer don't realize, from pencil to paper to fabric creation, thousands and thousands of miles away in different parts of the world, to cut and sew, to customs and U.S. taxes and import. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. And I mean, the education for me, Lou, it hasn't stopped. I mean, we recently just brought in a new leader for our company who was a high-level executive at the Gap. And we were able to entice him to leave, which was such a big thing for my company. And what I still learn from him every single day, because he comes from these brands that have done this for years. They've been around 50, 60 years, and they're powerhouse brands that are billion-dollar brands, and they've got hundreds of stores all over different states. And so, the education, I mean, the thing that I love so much is that I understand all the facets, whether it's our design, whether it's our supply chain, whether it's our merchandising, whether it's our business turns, our revenue generators, our lever. I mean, it's been amazing. Like I couldn't have asked for kind of something more interesting and better to do. And as I'm sure there's plenty of moments where I would like to bang my head on a steel wall. But it's just been, I've learned so much. I mean, I laugh because, I went to Boston University and I say, geez, I wish I would have taken my education a little more serious when I was in college, because I was a very, very focused hockey player. And I got to tell you, like, the education that I've gotten in all the different facets of what it takes to make and manufacture and import and run a clothing business, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Would you say that the biggest challenge for you was putting the business together or getting the products to the shelf?
I think the really good product is the hardest part. I think there's so many things that you learn to control over time, but we manufacture in the Far East, in Asia, in South Korea, in Taiwan, so we're doing it in Asia because the quality is very high over there. But we're working with people that are thousands of miles away. We are our 13-hour time change. So there's certain times where things could be shipped or not shipped, or there could be something lost in translation with a pattern, with a fit. I mean, making really good product is by far the hardest part. Once we have really good product, we're able to get people into our stores with marketing and with activating our space and being a part of the community here in Philadelphia, that people, they come in and they try it on and they buy it. They absolutely do. But the actual manufacturing part has been the greatest challenge, because when you have a business relationship that's, like I said, I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever been over to China. I'm sure you have, right? And flying over there, it takes you 16 hours to get there. I mean, that is no joke. And it's challenging sometimes to do business with people that far away.
So let's bring it into a perspective here. Give us a feel for how large Endeavor Athletics is and how many locations you have, so that people can get a breadth of the understanding of the size of the company.
Right. So we have one store in Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia, which is the premier shopping district right in Philly. We opened a second location in Stone Harbor, New Jersey, which is at the beach, kind of where a lot of this Philadelphia crowd goes. In the next, I want to say 4 to 6 months, we'll be in New York, in Soho, on Prince Street.
Oh, wow.
We plan to open in the early stages of 2019 in LA. And then we're looking at a handful of other cities, like Washington, D.C., Boston. But we have some partners that we work with. Barry's Boot Camp is one of them. They have locations all over the world. They're probably up to about 50 locations globally, and they carry our line, not all of it, but they carry some pieces from our line around the world. So, there's 4 locations in London, and there's one in Stockholm, and they've got one in Milan and one in Dubai, and you can buy our stuff in any of them. So, we certainly are having success, kind of grabbing our little portion of the market. And you referenced earlier, it's how hard of a business this is, because, there is a lot of brands out there. But what's happening right now, Lou, is all these smaller craft brands, similar to like the craft beer movement that happened, where all those craft beer, these brands came in and they started chipping away at the big guys and chipping away at the big guys. And all of a sudden the big guys were like, okay, well, we're going to just have to buy them for 30 times what they're worth. And no joke, when I tell you 3 weeks ago, Under Armour moved out of their space on Walnut Street in Philadelphia overnight, I am not exaggerating. They were there on a Wednesday, and then when you woke up on Thursday, they had moved out. The store was a flagship store on the corner of 16th and Walnut, which is the highest rent in Philadelphia. Okay. They did a beautiful build out, and they didn't last more than a year. So, you're seeing the small brands come in and sort of start to chip away at the market share from some of the big guys.
Well, let's take this into the other avenue of this, which is obviously today doing business online is obviously essential. what's Endeavor Athletics' plan specifically doing business online, but even more specifically, doing it with Amazon?
Well, we do have an online presence. It's a major part of our business. We kind of believe in the clicks and bricks model. I think a lot of people think brick and mortar is dead. Personally, we don't think that. We think that if you offer a really great, unique experience, and you are calculated about where your brick and mortar is, it really generates and fuels your online sales, which is, something people really love is buying online. So, we're always looking to grow, and our e-com platform will continue to get better. And we don't currently sell anything on Amazon, but,
Okay.
I don't know why we would. If we have the opportunity to, I think that we would most certainly be open to it, because listen, I mean, it's Amazon. I don't have to say anything else, right? I mean, you walk into Whole Foods and, you're scanning your Amazon Prime card. It's like they're taking over the world.
Right. Well, that was my point of the question. It is an interesting mix, right? You've got the large brick and mortar places going out and smaller craft places coming in. And then you're dealing with the online channel where it's the other way going around, where everyone's trying to funneling into one direction, which is a challenge, but it's a great part of being a leader like yourself and helping to strategize this. And that brings me to my next question here. In putting together a business, I know you're going to use some sports analogy on me because you're also a commentator. It is like being that general manager and building a team, but it's also having a vision and a plan for where you see the business going. Is the ultimate goal to get like the craft beer guys and get paid 30 times more than you are, or to grow this organically as long as you can?
Yeah, I know personally, the best feeling for me, Lou, is when, for example, yesterday I went and took a flywheel spin class, right? And I walked into the flywheel class and, there was about 17 people in the class. It's a Sunday, it's nice weather. Not many people are there. There was one female and she was wearing a pair of leggings from my company. And there was a guy in there and he was wearing a pair of shorts from my company. And there's no greater feeling for me. So, when we get to that level where some of the big guys maybe start to come after us, I'm not really sure. I have a group of partners, Danny Briere, who is a former Flyer. He's one of my partners. And I have some really smart people surrounding me. And I think, we'll make a decision at some point when we get to that. But what I can tell you for now, what we are absolutely most committed to is quality. And I think that when you look at some of the other brands, including Lululemon, who I've always been an admirer of, the minute they started to grow, I mean really grow, quality became an issue. And, their CEO walked away and he bashed them, and the founder said they've lost their quality. And I think for me, as long as I have control, quality will never change. And it's so important to me that when we scale, quality won't change. And I mean, look, this is my baby. I can't tell you if I would be willing to walk away for a number. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said somebody offered me some obscene amount of money, I wouldn't consider it. I'd be lying to you if I said that, Lou. But what I can tell you is that I'm very committed to what we're doing. I'm very committed to growing this brand to where it is a household name that people wear and know and trust. And I mean, I want in 10 years Endeavor to be like what a Lululemon is. And I want to see people in every major city around the world wearing my clothes, because that's why I'm doing this.
It's awesome.
It's a sense of pride.
So help me understand a little bit more about you, Colby, and you listened to the show, so you know where this question's going. You have been successful in your career. You've made a move into broadcasting and spun that avenue into Endeavor. Everyone has off days. When you're having trouble thriving, who or what do you turn to get back on the thriving track?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And I've had a really, really great summer this summer. I've spent the last 2.5 years without taking a day off. And I started to hire a team of people that I trust really well. And it was sort of it enabled me to spend a little bit of time with my friends this summer. You and I joked about a month ago when I was supposed to do this podcast. I couldn't because I was stuck overseas because I was on a vacation with my friends for a bachelor party, and we got robbed, and half of us couldn't even get out of the country. So but it's funny because just the moments that I've been able to take and breathe and spend with my friends, and it's been really, really recharging and kind of revitalizing for me through the hard moments that I've had some times to kind of, spend some times with my friends and some of the people that I care about. And, I surround myself with smart people all the time and other business leaders and other CEOs. And I like to sort of pick and choose from different people what I think really applies to me. And I have some coaches that I'm around, and the other thing too, Lou, I work with some really phenomenal broadcasters. As much as we both give Dave Starman a lot of crap. I worked with Sam Rosen this year, who's a Hall of Fame broadcaster, and everything that guy says, you're wowed. And I've got to be around Doc Emmerich,
wow. Yeah.
and I was at the Olympics this year, and I spent a ton of time with Jeremy Roenick and Keith Jones. And I'll tell you, they're funny guys, but Keith Jones is one of the most interesting and intelligent guys that I have spent time with. He's quiet but he's really, really interesting and really smart. So, I'm just fortunate that I'm around all these great people that I get to sort of learn from. And, I don't necessarily have to turn to and say, well, what would you do here? What would you do there? But I sort of learn different lessons and take different things through all these different people. And, it really kind of helps keep me on the straight and narrow. I
think I loved in my conversation with Dave Starman when he said, we're just two guys wearing makeup talking hockey. And
well, they switched. Well, NBC put me on the radio this year, so I don't even have to wear makeup. I can just roll right out of bed as long as I have my information down.
That's awesome. So Colby, do me a favor. Let everybody know on the Thrive Loud community all the places they can find Endeavor Athletics. We'll get this out of the way, the admin stuff, and then we'll get some of the fun Thrive Loud questions.
Yeah, so we sell online at endeavorathletic.com. There's no S on there, so it's just endeavorathletic.com. Our Instagram is endeavorathletic. And then my Instagram, where I'm constantly pushing things out. We do a lot of flash sales and kind of fun stuff just through my personal social media. It's just my name, Colby Cohen, and then _. So, you can find us there on social media, the website. And yeah, we're constantly trying to do stuff for our loyal followers to, reward them for kind of following what's our journey. We're not at this point yet where, I can't imagine customers from Lululemon or Under Armour are emailing directly with the CEO. I'm in my store. I'm sitting in my store right now. We're at 8 on 18th Street in Philadelphia, 18th and Sansom, and I'm here all the time. I interact with customers 6 days a week. I want to know what people think, and when people return things or they come back for a second purchase, I like to interact and kind of hear what their opinions are, because, at the end of the day, they're fueling my business. They're paying our bills. So I want to hear what they have to say, and it's important. It's important to us. So, that's where I spend a lot of my time.
So I'm going to do the little reverse order here, Colby, and thanks for sharing all this stuff. I think it's great. I think everyone's going to get a chance to check out Endeavor Athletic and really see the value it is. And I'll say this, I did some research beforehand, saw some of the stuff on your online store, and I was just in Philly and passed by one of your stores. It was late at night, but I saw where it was. So it's got great locations and it's got a good vibe to it. So continued success with all of this. We'll start off with this one. You're in Philadelphia and you've played hockey for the Avalanche and were involved with the team in the Bruins when they won the Cup, and you're a hockey analyst. Who do you root for as a fan? Can you share that, even though you're on the media side, so to speak, nowadays?
Well, you know what's funny? I don't really have a team anymore that I root for. For me, I have my friends. A lot of my friends still play the game. I just was at Kevin Shattenkirk's wedding, who is my oldest friend, and he's my closest friend. And when he was on the St. Louis Blues, I was rooting for the Blues. And when he was on the Washington Caps, that's who I rooted for. And now he's on the Rangers, and that's who I root for. And my other roommate, Colin Wilson, he plays for the Avalanche. And Nick Bonino is my other roommate from BU. We all live together. He's a Nashville Predator. So what I really love to see, Lou, and I'm not just being democratic about my answer. I'm just being honest. I root for my friends to do well, guys who I played with. It's just like, who wins the game and who loses the game is less important. I love to see my friends succeed. I love to see them get big contracts. I love to see them score goals. It keeps me a part of the game because they still talk about it with me. And it's so much fun when I get to do a game, and I'm doing a game that has two guys that I lived with in college playing. I mean, you really can't beat that. I have plenty of embarrassing stories to throw them under the bus for on national radio or national TV. So, it's such a fun way. I'm so happy and lucky that I've been given the opportunity to do the broadcasting, because it's just a great way to stay involved in the game and sort of see it on the other side. And I get to be around Eddie Olczyk and all these guys. I mean, it's unbelievable. You couldn't ask for a better group of people.
It's great. I'll say this. I had a good fortune of being around some New York Rangers a few years ago, from friends of mine who were close with them, and all of them just great guys. I think this has always been true of hockey players. And you're right, that to have that close proximity and friendships over those years, to see them play is pretty cool. And that's a great friend to have in Colby. So kudos to you on that. Colby Cohen, your all-time favorite movie?
So I go back and forth between Big Daddy and Liar Liar. Those are my two favorites. And I know it's like kind of an old school comedy, because comedy now is a lot different than comedy when I was a little bit younger. I just made it into I'm an 80s kid. I'm not a 90s kid. I'm an 80s kid. So you can't watch those two movies and not just have tears running down your face every time you watch them. They're so funny, and some of it goes back to funny childhood memories of watching with my family and my brothers. And I can still remember seeing it in the theater, and they had almost kicked my mother and I out because we were laughing so hard. So, those have been my two favorite movies since forever. And of course, there's been a million good ones that came out. A movie just came out actually recently called Molly's Game that Aaron Sorkin wrote. Molly Bloom happens to be my first cousin. So, I have to at least put that in there as my top favorite movies. So, but Big Daddy and Liar Liar, those are my two go-tos for sure.
Just spectacular to have Adam Sandler and Jim Carrey as part of the collection there. And I think we're learning a lot about Colby Cohen today. So that's just awesome. Colby, thank you so much for coming on the program. I think it's great. Continued success with Endeavor Athletic. And we continue to look forward to listening to you on the radio, on TV, and everywhere that the hockey games bring you, which is awesome.
Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully I'm not hurting anybody's ears too bad. Sometimes when I'm doing the broadcasting, the Twitterverse is always quick to let me know how bad I'm hurting their ears, and I'm sure you've heard some of the same.
And we only have the most amazing people on the show each and every time we have them on. Let's make that clear, Colby, and we'll make sure they tweet it as well, so they'll get a chance to make sure they share the word.
Yeah. All right.
You got it. And thank you for coming on the program. And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.
Lou Diamond of Thrive Loud is a professional podcaster. Please do not try this at home. The information on Thrive Loud is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. While Lou Diamond is an author, he is not an attorney, nor does he play one on TV. The guests on Thrive Loud are amazing. Should you desire to be amazing, go for it. That's what the show is all about. If your definition of amazing is jumping out of a plane, skydiving, mountain climbing, bungee jumping, or synchronized skeet shooting, please wear a helmet and a signed permission slip from a parent or legal guardian is required. The Thrive Loud guests' all-time favorite movies mentioned in this interview are merely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Lou Diamond, the Thrive Loud production team, or the Motion Picture Association of America. Unless, of course, if the movie is Godfather 1 or 2, Shawshank Redemption, Rocky, or Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Any resemblance to any living person or deceased is coincidental. Any reproduction or rebroadcast without the expressed written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited. No guests were harmed in the making of this podcast. However, a few production interns can neither confirm nor deny if some audio equipment shorted out and caused a spark, which may have led to the creation of a large bonfire in the parking lot during the big game. Shake well before use. Keep frozen until ready to serve. No purchase necessary to win. Actual retail price may vary. See dealer for details. Caution may be hot. Use only as directed. Not to be taken internally. Keep hands and feet inside railing at all times. Void where prohibited. Certain blackout periods may apply. Batteries not included.